Did you know that Alchemist Accelerator can operate a program for you? Welcome to Innovators Inside, the podcast for people working in corporate and government innovation. Brought to you by AlchemistX, the corporate services division of Alchemist Accelerator. Here you'll follow me, Rachel Chalmers, head of AlchemistX, as I talk to the industry's highest achievers and most compelling thought leaders. These are fly-on-the-wall conversations with leading practitioners in the field. They'll share their lessons learned so that you don't have to go through the painful experiences that they did. So sit back, relax, and get ready to level up.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Today I couldn't be happier to welcome Aleksandr Kravchenko to the show. Alex is Deputy Product Officer at EOS Data Analytics, an incredible geospatial data startup that was a recent participant in the AWS Space Accelerator powered by AlchemistX. Alex's product experience stretches back several years in several startups and builds on a prior career in journalism and politics, and we'll talk about some of that. Innovation and the concept of driving change has been consistent and important throughout Alex's career, and I can't wait to hear some of his lessons and stories. Alex, it's great to have you on the show.
Hello, Ian. Hi to all the listeners here. It's an honor, actually, to be here, and I hope my story and my experience will be of interest, helpful, and insightful.
I'm absolutely certain it will. Can you start by telling us a little bit about your personal story? I noted that you spent some significant time in journalism before your pivot over to product. So how did your journey lead you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Looking backwards, I recognized that my path was quite specific due to being uncommon compared to some guys who appeared in IT with an essential path through learning computer science, management, early joining some IT company as a trainee, etc. That's not my case. So I started my path from journalism, as you mentioned, Ian. I was political observer. By the way, I've got a master's degree in political science. Then a commissioning editor, and finally I became an editor-in-chief in one of the most trusted news agencies in Ukraine. I've rebuilt the operations there, the news release approach, rethought monetization model, and launched educational programs to improve the skills of my colleagues. It all started working significantly better even within the limited resources. And I actually had no idea at that moment that what I was doing is related to some sort of corporate innovation. But at some point, I felt that I'm getting bored because everything was fine. And I came up to the stage when, some people say, don't go where everything is fine. Go to the company where there is a space for big improvements. Actually, this was a trigger to try out something new outside the journalist's world. So I decided to break the established career beliefs and disrupting step. I've chosen the IT industry, which was growing rapidly at that moment, especially in our country. I had no experience in IT, but had a good managerial background and extremely high motivation multiplied by insane ambitions. So I've been hired as a copywriter in a company specializing in business events and trade shows worldwide, especially in China. And in 3 months, I've started working as a product manager, then as a project manager. Then I took 2 more projects to lead within a group of companies. And by the way, there I had my first experience of participating in the accelerator program. Our company, Expo Promoter, was selected to participate in China Accelerator. And that was interesting and insightful journey. So I would say that the reason for my successful immersion or pivoting in product management and digital business in general is striving to move forward, to learn, and the willingness to innovate wherever I am. So as a result, I've relaunched the marketplace for trade shows in China in terms of business model, giving more revenue, launching a startup, a matchmaking app for events worldwide, and finally released within the startup, a platform for online events, similar to Hopin TO. Maybe you've probably heard of those guys with lots of communication, matchmaking, and promotion features. And then I started questioning myself again. Is that it? Is that all you can do, man? And this was another trigger pushing me out for new opportunities. And so more than 2 years ago, I joined a great company of professionals keen on remote sensing and the space industry, EOS Data Analytics. So diving deeper and deeper into product development methodologies, business operations, people management, etc., I realized that there is a vast space for corporate innovation, and I started to help build the company inside out. Here, I obtained a propelling opportunity to participate in AWS Space Accelerator, enabling me and my company to immerse in vast prospects of collaboration and business development. I was actually thrilled with such an opportunity when I saw a message in the Slack thread that we've been selected for the AWS Accelerator, and first thought was this can be. And we need to brainstorm shortly, collect the ideas, build a plan on how can we improve, what can we improve, how can we highlight our collaboration points with AWS and AlchemistX, and then the story began.
That's so cool. So there's a couple points I want to dive into, and we're going to come back to the accelerator experience. But I don't know if you and I share something. I also started with a really early career in journalism and political journalism. And I thought that that would be a career, but it turned out I wasn't as good at it as you. But there's something interesting, I think, right? Journalists have to observe, and they have to sense the challenges, the problems, the trends that are going on in society. Is that a skill that you feel like has helped you on your path into corporate innovation and technology?
Yeah, sure. Journalism, it's like the core. The key component of journalism is, as you've said, observing and diving deep, and a willingness to get to the truth, and having a lot of doubts, and exploring some new prospects which make interest and which seem to be profitable, I would say.
There's something about relentless curiosity that I think really pays off in innovation here.
Definitely.
Well, and so this path led you to your role at EOS Data Analytics. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what you are working on right now?
Currently, as you have mentioned, I'm a deputy CPO and a product manager at the same time in EOSDA. So I'm involved in many streams, including our flagship product, crop monitoring, top-notch precision farming tool. Here I lead one of the product streams, and I'm also responsible for the white label stream, product operations, some skill-up initiatives, and involved in company-wide strategic streams, helping us to grow rapidly, to move the proper direction. And one of those is building tight collaboration with AWS, coming out of the AWS Accelerator. Feel free to ask something specific if it makes of interest to you, because there's too many activities I'm involved in. So if we focus on all of them, it would take not just a couple of hours.
Yeah, we need to let you get to sleep at some point here. But let's just dive in a little bit on the mission of EOS Data Analytics. So two questions. I think one, your website right now has a countdown. So what's it counting down to? And then also just tell us a little bit more, like, what does EOS Data Analytics do? What is Earth Sensing and Analytics?
The countdown, it actually shows the days remaining to launching our first satellite EOS sat, like EOS Sat 1. So it means that it allows us to to cover both downstream and upstream solutions we have. So many companies owning their satellites, they start from just launching satellites and selling some satellite data. We have, but they don't have their downstream product as we have now. Like for instance, it's EOS crop monitoring platform. We have been moving in a bit another way, understanding the needs of the end users, covering as much use cases as we can. And then we realized that launching our own satellite would be game changing, I would say. EOSDA, like in terms of people, in terms of operations, is a group of game changers led by our chief advisor. And the thing is that we all have space, and it doesn't mean we have time to look differently and reflect in order to rethink our solutions or approaches. For instance, we recently had a couple of spin-off ideas. We did big research, selected one to test it out, but in the end realized that our assumptions don't match real user demand. It's one of the attempts in learning, which we also use as an approach to get insights from. But at the same time, at some point, we realized that we've got a great downstream solution, the crop monitoring platform, providing our users with a set of tools for precision farming. But in terms of the future, we are limited by the data provided from other satellites. So we decided to launch our own satellite constellation. And the first satellite, EOS Sat-1, is going to orbit soon. You've seen the countdown later this year. So is it innovative in terms of full precision ag, and not only agriculture? It covers the full cycle from upstream to downstream, as I've said, and nobody else does this right now.
It's amazing. And can we just talk about how delighted my inner nerd is to have a conversation where somebody says, so we decided to launch our own satellite constellation?
I would try to look a bit different than that. Like, I've recently heard a joke from one of our developers. Like, we were just discussing the things coming up in our company, our achievements, and one of our developers said something like, when we launch our own satellite, and one of the recruiters writes me on LinkedIn offering a new job, I will ask them, does your company have a satellite? No? Then go find someone else. And he actually said bad words in the answer, but I won't. But the key point, lies in this sample, I would say.
That's amazing. So we, as you mentioned, we got introduced through the AWS Space Accelerator program. And so how does a program like that help EOS Data advance your mission?
As I've highlighted in one of our press releases devoted to our participation in AWS Space Accelerator program, we graduated with a vision of expanded prospects for a rapid business boost. So the accelerator is a significant milestone for EOSDA in strengthening cooperation with AWS, establishing contacts with top customers and partners, and implementing new ideas to our product solutions. So as I've said, and I really feel like that, it's as if you realize that you can now fly outside your solar system. And we now keep working within the decent roadmap of our collaboration with AWS. And I believe in the short term, we will definitely get significant results for both parties, and not only short-term, but mid-long-term cooperation as well. And we're having a chance now to get in touch with new partners. We're doing more promotion. We're getting consultancy on our various needs, like how to improve our artificial intelligence and machine learning solutions, optimize our storage, how to better improve and market our crop monitoring white label solutions, how to level up our DevOps team via some trainings and certifications and more. So it looks like as a qualitatively new stage of our unstoppable growth. I would say that, yeah.
That whole idea, I love the metaphor of, moving outside of your own solar system and expanding the orbit. It works well. But that whole idea of innovation being fueled by connections between different parties that all play a part, I think is really powerful. So I'm glad you saw some of that. So let's talk a little bit more about your story. And there is one huge elephant in the room here. So you're based in Kiev.
Yeah, correct.
There's the tragedy of the war that is looming over the country, and I'm sure your work. Can you share a little bit about how that's impacting you, your friends and family, and the team you work with?
Yeah, that's a good question about tough reality. I was actually foreseeing the war coming up, but not that large scale as it is now and as it begun. So when it all started on February 24th, we inevitably faced an operational drawdown due to everybody had to save and secure their beloved ones. But in like 2-4 weeks, when each of our guys and me with my family as well found a shelter in a village or in another city, another part of Ukraine, we started reviving our operations, revise our plans and normalize our work as much as possible. So the main challenge, and it still remains, was keeping a war-life balance, living now, fight stress, keep planning out your life and grow productivity. But all this actually looks more like tourism compared to what our guys from the armed forces experience being injured. And what is horrible to realize, too many of our brave warriors are not with us anymore. So how did it go when USDA was in the AWS Space Accelerator at that moment during like the active phases? At some events, there were airstrikes and alarms, but you didn't hear that because I was muted. But we are kind of tempered, I would say, and I was more concerned with the time difference when we worked for 15 hours a day in June, rather than with these attacks and alarms which were nearby. So, speaking about the current status of business, we now have complete operational capabilities, and at some point, it's important, I think, to highlight that we realized that what helped us achieve what we have now within the current conditions in the country, we found out that it's flexibility and leadership. And it seems to me that those are replicable as the crisis management drivers to keep any company afloat.
That's some really, really interesting thoughts there. And it seems that, balancing the realities of the world around you with the motivation, right, to keep moving forward. It was tough. And so is this how important was it across you and your leadership team to help the team balance, as you say, war work balance? And how did you do that?
It was extremely important to have myself as one of the leaders and to have all other leaders consolidated around solving potential, not like potential, they were risks which occurred. So to focus on collecting everybody over like safety. So the main goal was not the business's somebody might think, but about safety and security of all the guys who were and are working within the company. So safety in terms of both like physical and mental safety. And we have launched a lot of initiatives with some psychological trainings devoted to like different stabilization mechanics and methodologies. It was a challenge, and it remains a challenge because the situation is unstable, and we sometimes. I wouldn't say that we like lose motivation. We more like lose productivity, and it influences a lot, and it influences leaders as well. But anyways, we are brave as well, even if we are civilians. So we are fighting too.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's when the world is changing around you so rapidly and in such unpredictable ways, but also tragic ways, it's hard to imagine how you would adapt in the moment, and it's inspiring to see, right, what is happening and what you and your team and families have been able to do. If I sort of look a little bit deeper into your past, and we look across your career, everything that sort of helped you get to where you are today, is there something that you are most proud of? Is there a moment in your career that you're just incredibly proud of that maybe you want to share with our listeners?
Let me think a bit. Proud. The most significant fact I would say I'm proud of is that I was doing like corporate innovation, not realizing that I was doing corporate innovation. So this is yeah. So speaking frankly, I'm proud that my professional path is essentially threaded with innovations. And when I realized, for instance, that we are facing rapid growth of our competitors, I came to the CEO of in a news agency when I was journalist. With a pack of docs with the schemes, strategies, and organizational structure changes, and pitched him for 30 minutes, finalizing with the words like, it is time to change the company and the game. Do it now or somebody else will. And another example, like when the COVID-19 pandemic happened, we've been thinking in a company of C-levels, what shall we do, and evaluated what can we do. So it was even business, and it won't survive anyways offline at that moment. So at that point, I stated that either we focus on what we can do, and the company dies in 3 months, or we pursue our investor that we need to invest more to be the first to roll out a platform for online events and not only survive, but match with the future trends of switching the event business to online. So from that point of sight, we knew that our chances to disrupt our target markets were 50-50, but we rolled out and succeeded already having the total volume of contracts signed for $1 million at the third month of development. So I know that such case also covers the crisis management, but I would say that corporate innovation somehow consists and at some points means risks proper forecasting and space for out of the box solution. And as I've highlighted previously, speaking about EOSDA, I'm extremely proud to work with those essential game changers. So yeah, we have already built a wonderful downstream platform. We are aiming to launch our EOS sat constellation with 7 satellites by 2025, and It is really great when there is an opportunity, like to tell some recruiter that if you don't have a satellite, I won't work with you.
It's a thought and a sentiment that is going to stick with me for sure. So let's go the other direction. Everybody has stories as well of something that in hindsight they would do differently. So is there anything, as you look back across your career, and particularly in the world of innovation, corporate innovation, where if you had a do-over, you would have done something differently?
I think I would allocate more time to study anthropology and psychology in order to understand people inside out. I deem such knowledge valuable according to the experience I already gained, knowing people, their behavior, who to negotiate with and with whom not, how to pursue in a lean way, and etc. So what I'm saying is that if I obtained this knowledge earlier and ensured that it became a basis for my further learnings, it would result much better within the decisions I made in my professional path in general. And I'd like to address this point to the people listening to this podcast. Learn more about people and their behavior, and because everything revolves around people unless we get replaced by robots.
And even if we do, at least the first generation will have presumably been built by people. I think that's such an important point. And it's something that is so easy to forget, right? And as we're heads down in our day-to-day, that human motivations and emotions are complex. So the study of people, I love it. Do you have any favorite reading or anything that you've looked at recently that sort of speaks to people?
I have recently read once more a book by Tom DeMarco, Deadline, because lots of points coming out from there get threaded through professional career in the companies I've worked in. And the book I am reading now, I've started it. It's mainly, it's partially about people, about psychology of people. It's Rory Sutherland Alchemistry, and quite interesting one in terms of non-standard thinking and some deep diving into psychology of specifics of human brain thinking, non-standard thinking, and etc.
Very cool. Well, we'll get that in the show notes, and I'm gonna add that to my reading list because I haven't read it. Sounds like the sort of thing to take in small, intense chunks, and then let my brain relax for a while. So you're doing a lot, you've been doing a lot. One of the questions that we always ask, because I think it's incredibly important in these times. How do you avoid burnout, and how do you help the team around you avoid burnout and take care of themselves while remaining productive?
Mm-hmm. Well, many people get deeply stressed when they realize that they are burning out and don't know how to fix this issue. It's like a corporate curse of the 21st century. But burnout is just a problem amongst others. Each problem has its root cause, and find that what caused the problem and eliminate it or build a plan to get rid of it. So I experienced the burnouts, and I didn't like that actually. So several recommendations I would give to our listeners, which helped me to normalize my inner status. And so I'm often asking my teammates if everything is okay. I'm trying to look to their to dive in deep into their brains and understand if it's all okay, not saying about burnouts, just are you overdosed or are you happy or something like that. And like speaking to the colleagues, when you ask about keeping colleagues away from the burnouts, I would say that regular communication, regular taking care. I don't know, as a father of the guys we are working with, is of crucial importance to avoid this one. So when it comes to some general advices which come out from partially from my experience, I would say the first one is no multitasking. Do not start new task before you finish the one you're working on now. Learn to say no, having in mind that your time is limited and prioritize. It helps us a lot to remain in a safe space. Ask for feedbacks from the stakeholders. So everybody essentially needs a feedback to make sure that your efforts are worth this. Have a healthy sleep. It's a must to sustain your body and free your mind from unneeded information. Switch your focus on something absolutely opposite. Go drive a car when you feel that you're stuck on some task. Go for a walk on a route that you haven't walked before, or try doing something differently. What I'm saying is each of us does common routine actions each day. Let's say you are going around the house, moving from one room to another to take your phone charger. Yeah. Have you ever tried walking backwards in your house? No? Why not? So it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's absolutely ridiculous. But the idea is to let some kind of a bug into your daily routine, and it will help you get yourself fixed a bit. So it's not a bug; it's a feature.
I love that. I empathize with the really classic problem of, not finishing a task before you move on, and then it just weighs on you, right? But now I'm going to go try walking out of my office backwards, and my kids are just going to laugh, and that's gonna be great. I love it. Amazing. Well, so going, we talk about managing the balance of work and life and staying productive and avoiding burnout, which is a great lead in to some questions about working in and around startups, right? So they can be pretty challenging, a lot of fun. But what advice and maybe what encouragement would you give to anyone who is thinking of founding or working in a startup themselves?
Well, I would say that founding a startup and working there is a two-sided story. So being hired in the startup is an amazing opportunity to get a vast set of skills improved rapidly and know the business essence inside out. But here you need to know that when you gain something, you sacrifice something. It will take your time and forces, and at some point you might feel you are burning out. But again, it's worth it because none of the non-startup companies would give you that drive and knowledge you get in a startup. A startup is a business built from scratch with less stability and with high risks, but ensuring you get an opportunity to be involved in all parts of it. So the problem is that the corporate environment, it happens that ideas that diverge from the company's existing business model may hit a wall. So they don't fit into the time frame of quarterly goals, or they seem too risky. There is no designated staff or budget to foster them, and so forth. So a startup is a group of people united by an idea, not just striving to follow the rules and grow and get paid a salary. This is actually where unicorns are born. From the founder's perspective, I haven't actually been a founder, but know many founders and challenges they face it. A startup is a journey letting get as much experience as possible through fails, in a good meaning, like first attempts in learning and significant achievement. It is a sort of lifestyle when you believe in what you do and you live your product. Startups by nature are driven with the philosophy experimentation. So founders have already put their savings and houses on mortgage to do what they believe in, and they are not scared of making mistakes. So when they come into a corporate environment, they are willing to ask tough questions, identify operational inefficiencies, and identify opportunities at the same time. Yeah, like that.
That's great. And this notion of being united by an idea is going to stick with me, right? Because I think it both sort of captures the essence of a high functioning startup team, and it also captures some of the risk and challenge, right? Like you have to immerse yourself, you have to become united by that idea. So let's look forward a little bit now, as you think about what's next for you personally and for the industry. Like, what does the future look like for you?
I'm actually the guy who combines two in one. I'm a practitioner and the dreamer at the same time. So within such a combo, I assume we'll get something similar to one of the Black Mirror series, in a good way, I hope.
That's a really important caveat when you're saying we're going to get something like Black Mirror.
Yeah. So when people had unlimited access to their memories on the go, so it seems to me that in future, people will have access to any information and data using their brain only. And in my opinion, it will be as common as using a smartphone. And this could actually be a good B2C idea for AWS in terms of charging for data storage and transfer.
The brain cloud connection?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure someone over there is working on it.
Probably, yeah. But from practical point of view, I would say that we will inevitably face current space race transforming to a set of sustainable and maybe even joint solutions serving specific goals in terms of waste reducing, cost optimizations, deviations detection, and much more in various industries like agriculture, carbon emissions, forestry, oil and gas mining, etc. And EOS Data is going to be there in that future, enhanced by strategic partners, amongst which is AWS.
Amazing. And so as you and the team at EOS Data move forward, what's the best way for our listeners to connect with or follow your work?
LinkedIn works. And, actually, I'm not doing some blogs or workshops. The best way, I think, is to follow us on LinkedIn and other social platforms. And also attend our webinars. We conduct them pretty often, dedicated to different topics, and gathering industry professionals only. But if any questions arise, everybody, both you, Ian, and our listeners can write to me directly via LinkedIn. And also follow AlchemistX. I forgot to say that.
There you go. I appreciate that little plug. And I'll be reaching out on LinkedIn and probably email and maybe phone when I see something that's really incredible. As we, before we wrap up here, what else should I have asked you? There's so much going on in your world. Any other topics that you really want to cover right now?
It seems to me that we have covered a lot of points which might be of interest for our listeners, but if somebody wants to ask something else, get in touch, get in partnership, and etc., feel free to reach me out via LinkedIn or wherever you can find me.
That sounds great. Innovation and addressing the challenges around us, it's a challenge for us all, and it's something I think we all struggle with, but many of our listeners really live and breathe every day. And so to that end, Alex, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed this conversation. It was wide-ranging and super interesting, and a few nuggets that are really going to stick with me. And I just want to say thank you for coming on the show, and I hope you have a wonderful evening and stay safe and productive going forward.
Awesome. Many thanks to our listeners. Special thanks to you, Ian, for having me here.
This has been AlchemistX Innovators Inside. You can find the transcript of this conversation, plus links to whatever books, articles, TV shows, and apps we talked about on our blog. And stay connected by following us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you found the podcast valuable, feel free to share or tell your colleagues. We love hearing from you. Send us your comments, feedback, suggestions for future guests, or just say hi by emailing us at innovators@alchemistaccelerator.com.